this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Alright, well, we have a lot of stuff to do today, as usual. So, let's go ahead and jump into the chair, shall we? Yeah, man, what a day it's been. Have you been having a day? I guess if you're watching right as this comes out, your day is sort of like just beginning. Yeah, it's been a pretty good one. Taught a bunch of lessons today. Taught a lot of you today, actually. It's one of those days where I do that. Pretty cool. But now it's over, and we're going to practice Morel. I think I know what we're going to do today. I'm going to answer some comment questions. I might just answer one. I might go through a few. We'll see. A few updates. I had a gig. I haven't had one of those in a while. So that was interesting. I basically just played through all the music that I've been working on twice. So it took like 2 hours-ish. I repeated a few things. I think I talked about it in the lesson that you just saw, if you watched the whole thing. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. I think I'm going to start playing in random places every Sunday or so. So I'm going to be visiting home this weekend, and there's a coffee shop that they live nearby. I'm gonna try to hook that up. I assume they'll take me because I'm doing it for free. I just want to play my music somewhere. Yeah, how did I feel about it? It felt pretty good. I felt like a little weird like starting out, but as I warmed up, I got pretty comfortable. There weren't really that many people there, so it felt alright. I can see that getting more and more comfortable the more I do it. I think it's about time I start doing that. Alright, let's get into some of these questions because I have one. Okay, here's the first one. This might end up taking up all the time. This is me rating your practice routines. Whoa. Alright, this one's coming from Sailor Lobestial 1182. Hey, what's going on? You have like a little anime character for your thing. That's interesting. Fellow weeb, I see. Very cool. I'm just kidding. I'm not a weeb. I'm a jock. Hi, Cameron. I've been watching for a few months now. Nice. That's a pretty long time. That's like 90 videos. That's pretty good. If you've been watching every single one. I don't expect you to, don't worry. There are playlists now. That makes it a little easier to watch. Go check out the playlists. Courtesy of Heidi, of course. Thank you, Heidi. And I've enjoyed the quips and personality you add. Very entertaining. Well, thank you very much. Much more digestible in this format than a lot of the guitar scene on YouTube. Boom. He said it, not me. I'm the best. Moving on. I've been playing guitar for about 1 year and 8 months. Aw, you're counting the months still. That's cute. How long have I been playing guitar? I always say it's been 14 years. I feel like I've been saying that for like 3 years straight, though. I don't want to do the math on it. I don't want to know. And I've built a practice regime for myself that I feel is good. But at times, I'm not sure I'm headed in the right direction. I spend about 2 to 3 hours a day, dang dude, practicing, sometimes more. Wow. Recently, my wrist has been hurting. Haha. That's not funny. That sucks. Maybe we need to talk about that a little bit. Maybe you can comment, give us little details on your wrist. Is it from guitar? Is it from something else? I assume it's from guitar. Ooh. I have a little bit of strawberry on me. That's a pretty long time. I'm going to keep going to keep finding information, but we'll touch on that later. And I've seen improvements, but I've realized recently that I severely lack in my song library. I don't play for anyone in particular, and I've never done it for performance, just for personal satisfaction. Well, that's kind of how it starts, and that actually kind of goes into what I was talking about with performing. Yeah, I don't really see why you need to perform until you feel like ready to perform. And you can wait like 10 years before you're ready to perform. There's nothing wrong with that. You can kind of just never perform too. That's an option as well. So you feel like you don't have that much repertoire. Yeah, you probably don't. You haven't been playing guitar for that long. Like at this point in my life, I feel like I have a pretty substantial amount of rep, but I've also been playing guitar for a long time and I've been kind of building to this. So that is something that you build to eventually. I'm going to keep reading, but I assume that if you're like any other guitarist, you're probably learning music that's like a little too hard for you. Like me, for example, I do that too. If you want to build up your rep, you could try learning like just 10 soar etudes like from Opus 60 just to have some stuff to play. That's like a pretty easy way to just build like a set, little pieces that you can just kind of play through. That'll take up like 20 minutes. Now the value of focusing on that, like it is just to build up more repertoire if you want to perform. I don't see anything wrong with just focusing on like 5 minutes of like challenging music for you and spending a long time working on that, especially if your only goal is just to get better at guitar. Well, we'll keep going. But I wonder now if I should be dedicating more time to learning songs as well as practicing scales and such. Currently, I'm learning Merry-Go-Round of Life and Howl's Moving Castle in order to fill the gap I feel. Truly a fellow weeb. Well, that's the nail in the coffin, my friend. I have an arrangement of that laying around somewhere that I got from my students. I love when students buy music and then send it to me, and then it's like, well, this is mine now. Those are also like not super easy pieces. Those are pretty like involved classically fingerstyle pieces, so I can see how you might be taking a while to learn them and to memorize them and get them performance ready. So that is something. Also, if you're learning those, I'm assuming that you're reading them from tab, which, you know, now could be a good opportunity to start getting into sheet music and learn some soar etudes from Opus 60, like I mentioned, because that'll build up your repertoire and you'll be a better classical guitarist for it. Anyways, your routine. That's what we're rating today, I guess. 10 minutes picking only practice with metronome. Like guitar pick? Ooh, alright, well, let's move on. 10 minutes legato with metronome, quarter, eighth, and then 16th notes. 20 to 30 minutes synchronization practice up and down the entire fretboard from varying finger placements, i.e. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, etc. to a metronome. Okay. Well, let's just start with those three things. So that's already 40 minutes of your day, 40 to 50 minutes of your day just gone. So I assume by picking, you're talking about just like alternate picking, like on one string to a metronome, and then 10 minutes legato with metronome. Legato just one. Because you mentioned that you start adding in left hand by minute 30. I'm not going to like judge too harshly about anything that you're saying, because I think that you do have to do some of this practice eventually. Like if you want to get really good at picking, like alternate picking, for example, you kind of do have to practice it by itself. And the same thing, if you want to get really good at doing this, maybe every guitarist could spend a little bit of time doing that. I feel like that's something, though, you are going to get good at it, you are going to get fast with it, and you're kind of going to reach a point where you're not going to just keep getting faster and faster. So, you know, I wouldn't, like, feel like you're going to do that for the rest of your life. Now, with the, like, 3, 4, 1, 2 thing, that kind of reminds me of, like, an enclosure or something. I think those are important. I do practice those, which is when you just take a note like this one, and you play the notes around it. Like, those are good to practice, and you kind of practice them in that sort of way. And that kind of brings me to my next thing. Like, what really is your goal with those finger patterns? Because my goal would be to try to incorporate it into, like, improv in some way. Yeah, so thinking about them as enclosures kind of makes sense to me. Like, and also the 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's good, too, especially if you're playing Avenged Sevenfold. Like, that sort of thing comes up a lot in Avenged Sevenfold, so maybe you're learning that. I don't know. Alright, next one. 10 minutes pentatonic, metronome. Perfect. Yeah, work on the pentatonic in all 5 positions. That's not going to hurt you. I always think practicing scales is a good idea. 10 minutes pentatonic, 15 minutes pinky control and sweep picking practice, 10 minutes of arpeggio 7th chord sequences, and when I feel up to it, I do ear training as well. Okay, well that's good. So far, your approach is very, like, systematic, where you just do little bits every single day. And if you're able to keep up with that, that's great. I gotta tell you though, when I was learning how to do this stuff, because I got pretty good at sweep picking myself, I haven't done it in a while. Like, I still have like muscle memory from it, but I never got good at it from practicing it like 10 minutes a day. And same thing with pentatonic scales. Like, I would just go through phases where I just kind of worked on this stuff for like hours a day, and then I would like move on to the next thing. And that's actually how I approach learning my pieces too, because right now, if you look at each individual movement, I'm really working on like 10 or so pieces, or actually a little bit more. I don't spend 2 hours practicing and divide my time equally into like 7 pieces and practice them like that. That just doesn't make sense to me. What I always do is the first thing I play, I usually spend like 50 minutes to an hour on that, and I try to actually make some progress. And then with the remainder of my time in that practice session, which usually takes 2 hours, and I try to do 2 of them a day for 4 hours in total, I'm running the stuff that I worked on the last practice session that I like spent some time with, and I'm just kind of like reviewing stuff. But the new like hardcore practice happens in like the first hour. I've kind of approached guitar playing like that, like basically my whole life. So I would do like pentatonic scales for an hour, and I did, you know. Like, I would just work on those for like an hour straight or whatever, or like the diatonic scales, or like any scale. I did a lot of scale practice, especially on electric when I was a kid. Yeah, I wouldn't just do 10 minutes at a time. Like, I would like obsess over it for like as long as I could, and then I would just like noodle after that, which the noodling was mainly just playing with stuff that I obsessed with previously. But to bring this back to my current practice, I kind of operate on these like week-long to like 10-day cycles, where every practice session I start by hardcore practicing on a new piece each time. And then that piece that I worked on shows up again in the next practice session in the later half of the practice session. So like in doing this, I can kind of work on a lot of music all at once. That's sort of like the gym, like meathead tradition too. Like you don't just kind of do everything all at once every single day. You have like an arm day, you have a leg day, chest and tries, back and bis, you know? You separate it out and you hit everything like twice a week, but you do it every day. Now, if this works for you, then fair enough. I don't know. I'm too obsessive to just like only work on something for 15 minutes. I'm just going to work on it until I burn out, and then I'll kind of peter off after that and work on all the other stuff I did. But I don't know. I mean, how's this working for you? The rest of the time I spend reading from sheet music? Oh, good. All right, so you're doing that. Or through tab? Ooh, all right. To learn a specific song? This is a new edition? Just get rid of that one. Just get rid of it, man. I feel as though I've really improved, but I've also never practiced music before, and when I think of all the potential for routes I could go for both learning and creating music, I feel like all I'm doing is losing time sometimes, lol. It's easy to feel that way, especially if you're spreading yourself really thin. I feel like that would also make it really daunting too, doesn't it? Like going into a practice session, and you're starting your first like 10 minutes, and you know that you have all these things that you have to work on, it's just like, ugh, God. I don't know. I feel like it would make seeing improvement a little bit harder too, because a lot of what makes us want to play guitar or like do anything, in fact, it's some like long-term investment style gratification that you kind of just know because we have like foresight, so that's why we do it. But it makes it really helpful if there's also short-term gratification like along the way. And I feel like practicing one thing, like one goal at a time, and just like obsessing and then like achieving it, it makes it a lot more fun to kind of go every day. And I bet if you did do this routine for like 10 years, you would get insanely good. But I don't know, it just seems kind of boring, honestly. I don't know if I'd want to do it. But I mean, like, it's different for everybody. I suppose I just want a confidence boost that I'm doing something right and not just overwhelming myself. I do enjoy my practice though. It's not a slog. Sounds like cope, bro. I'm just kidding. Let me know your thoughts if you can. Thanks for the vids. No problem. And now you're in one. And let me be clear, I'm not like trashing your practice routine. And there's a lot of like technique stuff that I feel like you could probably do without. Unless you really want to get good at like 3-4-1-2. Like why? Why even do it? I've never practice that. Scales and arpeggios, that's going to give you like what you really need. That's music, what you're playing. Like I would practice that stuff first. Where you should get a lot of that like random chromatic movement, you should maybe see it like in the diatonic scale, you know, and think of it that way. So you're really still practicing the diatonic scale. Like for example, G major. If you want to go like 2 4 3 1 2 and in there, that's like a way of practicing these like finger synchronization things and like practicing in a way that kind of makes sense musically. Because this, I don't know, it's like a chromatic scale like played a little out of order. I don't know, so it makes sense for me to practice those things like in the context of music and scales, or like arpeggios too. I can talk more about that later. I can maybe make an improv video, because I do have a lot to say about that topic. Yeah, alright, I think that pretty much covers that. Feel free to leave some stuff about your wrist pain. I can imagine that might happen, especially if you're sweep picking. We're talking about like electric guitar right now. What is this? This is a classical channel, guys. All right. Oh yeah, rating your practice technique. I'll actually do several tiers. For time spent per day, I'm gonna give you a 9 out of 10. I don't really think you should practice more than that, because it sounds like you're practicing like 3 to 4 hours a day. That's plenty. 9 out of 10. What would 10 out of 10 be? I think David Russell says he practices like 5 hours a day, like consistently. Sure, that's a lot. I don't practice 5 hours a day. I practice like 2 to 3 like you. Excitement / sustainability, 3 out of 10. Sorry, I wouldn't want to do that. It sounds boring. And just to give you an idea, the excitement / sustainability of my practice sessions, I'll give mine a 7 out of 10, if you see what I do. Third category, how useful will it be for your guitar playing? I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It's extremely technique heavy. You do have 2 big pieces that you're working on, so that's good. Alright, I think we can wrap this up. It's time for me to practice my guitar, so you'll get to check out my awesome practice routine now. Alright, I'll see you there. Getting back onto it. Morel's second movement, that's going to be the big focus for today. I'm going to focus on memory, of course, because we almost got this thing down. And then I might try to work on the other crowd pleaser pieces like Capriccio Arbe and Julia Florida. Maybe. I'm going to put a lot of effort into the second movement. I might end up playing one of these for you. I just played the second movement, so I don't know. We'll see. I might just play Lagrima for you. Would you like that? Alright. Well, I'll see you on the other side. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've like barely done anything. I worked on memory for the Morel Sonatina movement too. So, I'm gonna play something different for you. Let me bring it closer. I'm gonna play Lagrima for you. I'm gonna try to really express myself. Then I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna go to bed. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna play a Villa-Lobos Prelude. And I'm just gonna try to feel myself while playing it. There's like, I'm doing something stupid there. Playing that stupidly. I'm such an idiot. I should be doing that. I need to rework that part because the way I'm playing it is really freaking dumb. I learned this prelude like 4 years ago. I have some like dumb fingerings in it still. I should probably just like revise those like tonight, honestly. I'm not going to. I'm gonna go to bed now. You should always look at music you learned a long time ago. You probably learned it stupidly. I learned that one stupidly. But you know, it's still fun to play regardless. There's a couple of places I need to look at in there. Doesn't matter right now. I'm done for now. I don't know. I'm doing alright. Let's wrap it up. Hey, well, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. Hey, I teach guitar lessons. I taught a bunch of lessons today. And of course, if you want some guitar lessons, feel free to sign up for them. Email me, it's in the description. And of course, if you want me to rate your practice routine, feel free to leave it down below. I'll give you my honest feedback. And, you know, I know a thing or two about practicing. I take practicing very seriously. Can't you tell from this one? I like practicing twice a day because it's kind of a numbers game. Not every practice session is good. I've been having a lot of bad ones in a row. I think I'm just in a funk right now. I'll get out of it. I'm still making progress on a lot of pieces I'm working on. I don't know. I've been in a better place with my practice. And of course, if you have any other, you know, just common questions, I'll answer them in the chair at some point, as I do. Alright, well, I think we can wrap this one up here. So, I'll see you tomorrow.